hill, from Saranaga, beyond the field I'd just been in, came a rising haze. It was so dense you could easily call it mist. It moved strangely, like a living creature as it flowed into the plaza. Chiemi pulled me by the hand.
何がなんだか頭がなんだ頭
今は我慢して。どこか鍵のかかるところに一人で入るの。出ないと死んじゃう。
どういうことなの？理由を。
お願い、春明さん。今だけは言うことを聞いて。
Albeit hesitantly, I did as she said. We ran up the hill and crossed a rice field path until we made it to a simple outhouse.
ここならなんとか。
本当、何事なんだ？確かにすごい霧だけど、そんな慌てることじゃ。
いい、春明さん。詳しく説明してる時間はない。だから、お願いだから、今から言うことを絶対に守って。今から一晩、ここに入って、鍵をかけて、絶対に物音一つ立てないで。
My mind was pretty clear by this point, so much so that I began to wonder why it was clouded until now. Because of that, I could easily understand exactly what Chiemi just said, despite how weird it was. I could also see that she was really desperate. Ah, takes a lot of keys to choose something else. Okay. Well, I should make a save then. Ah.
またとんでもない指示が来たもんだ。
春明さん。
言っとくけど、相当な無茶ぶりだからね。ノルマクリアの暁には相当な見返りと説明を要求するから。
うん、いいよ。全部話す。だから今晩を生き延びて。
The words, the teary smile, none of it looked fake.
じゃあね。君も急ぐんでしょ？
うん。それじゃ、春明さん。
何？
明日言うから。
Leaving me one hell of a homework assignment. Chiemi ran off. The plaza was covered in the mist by now. I could see it rising to take over the fields too. Anyway, a promise is a promise. 10 minutes later, I began to wonder what I was doing. Was I really supposed to spend the entire night here? This outhouse wasn't like a prefab you'd find in construction sites. It was just a shack built by hand. It merely happened to have a toilet unit installed. It was Japanese style, so I couldn't even sit down. All I could do was stand. Another problem, it was the type of toilet that periodically had to be pumped empty, so the smell was really bad. Sure, there was a cover on the toilet unit, but without any kind of air freshener anywhere, the smell of ammonia could only do so much. The only good thing about being here was that if I had to go to the toilet, well, mission complete, but what of it? Only adding to the stench. Again, was I really supposed to spend the entire night here? The question quickly made me realize how stupid this was, and I began making assumptions to make this easier for myself. Was I being pranked? Or was everyone here just crazy? Hell, the mist had already filled out the surroundings, and there was no way that this shabby outhouse protected me from it. The air here already felt misty and damp. The temperature here was low, so I could still bear it somewhat, but staying here all night would make me all wet. Again, I wasn't safe from the mist here. That considered, I'd probably be better off sleeping in the grass outside than staying here. The reasonable part of my mind urged me to stop playing along with these hicks. However...
今から一晩ここに入って鍵をかけて絶対に物音一つ立てないで。うん、いいよ。全部話す。 だから今晩を生き延びて。
A bit of a tall order for a prank. My sense of duty made it hard for me to break the promise I'd made to her. And actually, that wasn't quite true. I was more intrigued by the prospect of learning more about this place. Anyway, I took the time to compile what I'd found out today. This was the Yasumizu settlement, a special part of Fujiyoshi. It was situated right next to the Saranaga Rapids. The people living here were Chiemi Serizawa, Yasunaga Oribe, his family, Kaori Oribe, and Yoshitsugu Oribe, Chikamochi Kamoshida, Haru Makishima, her granddad, Kanzo Makishima, Hayamewaka, Takumi Muro, Kiyonosuke no Sato. It seemed like he was from Kami Fujiyoshi, the place on the other side of the mountain, but for some reason he lived here now. And finally, the old man who cried wolf. Those were the 11 people I'd met, and Chiemi said I had 2 more left. That could only mean that the 2 I'd met by the pine were the ones. A little girl. She was probably the child that strayed into a Saranaga yesterday morning. I know how to say little girl, ha ha ha. Onnako. No, that's young woman. No, wait, no. Ah! That's worse than I was expecting. And then there was the fantastical looking white-haired woman clad in strange clothing. Honestly, this is how Nameless's love interest looks. Except for the clothing, but yeah, generally that's what she looks like. She was probably the one I'd seen in the morning. The fact I'd seen her twice made it likely that she was indeed real, but with how mysterious this place was, I couldn't rule out the possibility that she was an illusion. According to Chiemi, the little girl was being looked after by someone in the village, so I could only assume that the white-haired woman was the one. If I counted the little girl, it would mean that Yasumizu had 13 inhabitants. Then there were the 2 journalists, Hisako Mamiya and Yudai Hashimoto. Add me to that, and you had a total of 3 outsiders. But I'd put that aside for now. Anyway, time for an assessment. His math seems wrong. There's 4 outsiders, not 3. Yesterday morning, a little girl strayed. He said counting himself. I can check the log too, just to make sure. Let's see, how do you go back in the log? Oh, I see, you scroll. Okay. Add me to that, and you had a total of 3 outsiders. I'm gonna assume that's just a minor error. Yesterday morning, a little girl strayed into Saranaga. To make it worse, no one, not even herself, knew anything about her. She instantly got branded as an ill omen. The next day, Chiemi, who was in Saranaga for some reason, found me there. They recognized me as a proper lost person, but since I came through Saranaga, I was also branded as an ill omen. From what Kiyonosuke no Satishi said, it was safe to assume that it used to be customary to throw people like us into Saranaga. And then there was the mist. The girl said something mysterious. Prepare for the feast when the evening mists arrive. I can only assume it was related to the same superstitions. After all, the mist came from Saranaga itself. It and the river seemed to be central to the local customs and ideas. One second. Okay. With that in mind, how was it dangerous? What was going to happen now? Yomibito, as in people from Yomi? The ancient Japanese land of the dead? Dead people came back through Saranaga, and they were corrupted. Well, that gave room for some wild ideas. Was there some sort of pathogen in Saranaga that rose up with the mists? Did it turn people into zombies? Was I about to be a part of a Japanese Resident Evil? Wait, that was already Japanese. What if you had a 10% chance of being infected by the mists, but a 100% chance to be infected by another person? That'd explain why everyone has to isolate themselves like this. If I became a zombie, I probably wouldn't have the mind to unlock the door. So basically, by locking myself in here, I was quarantining myself. I hadn't put all that much thought into that, but that seemed like a good story. Sure, stuff like the boulders and the wolves didn't fit anywhere into my idea, but it was still interesting. Then again, I knew this was Hicksville and all, but would a superstition that science could explain so easily really survive the modern world? It seemed so weird.
今から一晩ここに入って鍵をかけて絶対に物音一つ立てないで。
Don't make a sound. To be frank, the reason why I spent so much time on these delusions was because I was scared of things I didn't know or understand. In the past, people used to attribute stuff like natural phenomena and diseases to gods, devil, yokai, and then do nothing but fear them. They were scared of these manifestations of monsters and whatnot, but on the other hand, it was better than not seeing or not knowing what they really were. The fact that you could die to things you couldn't see or understand made life really unreasonable and unfair. That was why it was very logical to give things names and mental images in order to recognize and memorize them. My fear of things I didn't know was the same, except I wasn't satisfied with just labels or hypotheses. I needed to reach the truth. That aside, what I was feeling right now wasn't a fear of the unknown. It was a realistic, practical fear of something that could endanger my life.
今から一晩ここに入って鍵をかけて絶対に物音一つ立てないで。
What is it? Oh, Lamau. Gotcha thing. Time limited. Who would have thought? There might be tasks you have to complete in order to keep the Arknights content completely. Imagine if they did a fucking Genshin collab. Ha 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 ha. That's worrying. I hope it's not a limited contract. That meant that outside lurked something dangerous that could hear sounds. Perhaps it was the so-called dead that rose up from the river. Or maybe, assuming I was right with my Saranaga sickness theory, it was people who came out and beat the shit out of all the diseased who didn't follow the rules. The wolf is coming. Maybe the wolf was the title given to the killer. Suddenly, I heard a scream in the distance. Oh boy. I would simply stay inside. You know how like you know how fucking black people always talk about how stupid people are in horror movies? Like just run, just stay inside, don't go outside, don't go looking for the killer, all that shit. I ascribe to everything that they say. Oh my god. I I love Japanese tweets, holy shit. Sapphire. So I guess Ruby is considered the male protagonist and Sapphire is considered the female protagonist. Interesting. Pokemon. I would have went with Ruby for May because she's wearing a red outfit, but I guess you can go with Sapphire for her. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would probably call the male sword and the female shield. But, yeah. No, it's because women always talk about how they take more pain and they have a higher pain threshold than men, so there you go. Sword for men because we're always attacking. Also because wow, that was some timing. Right as I was about to form a new hypothesis, the proof connecting it all suddenly came to me, and it was right outside. It had gotten really dark, there were no lights anywhere, the darkness was fear, unperceived is the unknown, which is dangerous and scary. Leaving this place was dangerous, dangerous is scary, 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 scary. Scary things were scary no matter how much logic you applied. But I couldn't discard my desire to get to know the fear and conquer it. I opened the door and stepped in place. Night wasn't absolute darkness no matter how dark or cloudy it was, the sky always gave a little bit of light to us. However, I came to understand that it could be hard to see even if there were light. Everything I saw was covered by a dense mist. Combined with the pale moonlight, it made the area seem milky. It made it hard to get around. Regardless, I couldn't ignore the scream. There was something beyond this veil. I kept moving forward. Unless my ears were deceiving me, the scream belonged to a woman and had come from the right. I couldn't let myself think that. Or rather, I didn't want to think that. The unknown was scary. Personally, I'd found the principle made my life really easy. I had more than enough fear from those which were directly threatening my life. Really didn't want to have the fear of losing someone as well. Change your line of thought, Haruaki. Solving the mystery might save someone. 2 birds, 1 stone. I began walking faster. Another scream. It was close. I realized I had to find a way to protect myself. I was unarmed, so I looked around for something, anything I could use as a weapon. I felt around to see if there were any branches or anything. Sadly, all I felt was grass. I went deeper and searched the ground itself. Soon, I found something hard. It was a rock. A moment of digging later, I took it in hand. It was a bit smaller than my hand. I almost teared up at how useless it seemed, but it was better than nothing. I looked at the base of my feet and saw the grassy ground. I could easily move forward if I first checked the ground using my feet. And since I might have been close to the danger, I had to focus on what was ahead too. I'd recognize the danger, and if possible, get rid of it. I concentrated entirely on that and stepped forward. About to Moses a motherfucker. I couldn't hear the screams anymore, but I could hear other things. A wet sound. And the sound of something cracking. It filled my mind with countless things I didn't want to imagine. Even so, I kept walking forward, until I saw it. Oh, my hypotheses were nothing but delusions. The truth was truly something you had to see yourself. But why? Why was this so scary in spite of being true? It wasn't supposed to exist. It couldn't exist. After all, it was a wolf with a humanoid body. And there's no such thing as werewolves. The next morning, in a paddy field in Fujiyoshi, Yasumizu, 3rd block, someone discovered a thoroughly mangled corpse. The clothes nearby led the discoverers to conclude that it was the traveler, Haruaki Fus... Damn it. He's still moving. Strangely enough, I could perceive this particular moment. And so I... was finished off by Chiemi. The last thing I heard was that. Alright, ending 1. Alright, GG, game's over. Alright, next VN. Why? Do you really want me to do that? Alright, let's see. Alright, key 2. Cool. That's what I needed to not step outside, if I remember correctly. Game over. Bad ending number 2. Watch hint corner? No, I think I'm good. Yeah, I think I'm good. Oh, maybe he had more to say than just that. Hmm. Ah, okay. Alright, let's see. I need the detailed chart so I can figure out where... Aha, here it is. 2. Wait, that's 20. Never mind. I thought it's a 2.0. Okay, there it is, yeah. So I literally have to die to do this smart thing. Fucking white people moment. I am a huge fan of how they fucking did that first bad ending, not gonna lie. Because, well, not the forced to die part, but just generally how they handled the death and everything. There's just enough intrigue in there. You got the 3 eyes on the werewolf. You got the fact that the body was mangled and yet somehow it was clinging to life. The fact that it's implied that I became a werewolf and got my head crushed in order to not actually rise up and threaten the villagers. The fact that the voice that crushed my head was Chiemi. All of that, there's a lot of intrigue in there, a lot of suspense. Also, Jesus fucking Christ though, Haruaki, why are you so dumb? Oh, I heard a woman scream. I was told to stay in here to survive the night. I'm gonna leave the fucking place. You fucking dipshit. You fucking moron. Oh hey, it warns me. You die this way. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. It warns me because I've already died that way. You know what? I'll take it. We're keeping still. What was that? It sounded like someone's life was in danger. It meant something dangerous was nearby. Wait. I can't be rash. The world doesn't have many things that logic can't explain. Like the existence of murderers. But until I saw the source of the scream myself, it was nothing but a source of fear.
今から一晩ここに入って鍵をかけて絶対に物音一つ立てないで。
I reached to open the door, but something stayed my hand. It was my promise to Chiemi. But that scream just now was very real. It wasn't normal. I had to assume the situation was dangerous, and maybe I could help if I went out. Moral of the story, kids, is not to ignore screams. It's to always keep your promises to girls. But that meant endangering myself. I was no saint, and I had no plans to rectify that. If there was something that could get me to walk out, it would be curiosity. My curiosity had won over many dangers thus far, but right now, it was weaker than my fear and risk of death. Why? Because I already knew. Shit. The fuck are these memories? It wasn't a premonition, a dream, or anything else that vague. My brain recognized it as something I'd experienced. How? After all, I was still alive, and the time from those memories had yet to come. Was I a precog or something? God, I swore I'd never experienced anything like this before coming here. Not true. Not true. He stops himself from remembering something really early on. And why did the memory come back to me at this particular moment? Regardless, that overwhelming fear and the pain and death that followed were exactly what waited for me if I opened the door. I couldn't feel more certain of that. The thoughts rendered me unable to move. Immobile. I stood still, completely certain that I'd lost my chance to leave. I wasn't childish enough to sneer at selfish decisions, but this still didn't feel good. Not to mention, I was upset at myself for not being able to act like me and just run out simply because I was curious. I didn't even feel saved. Until that moment. Suddenly, the door began to shake. This place had a handle on the outside, and someone was pulling on it hard. There was a lock, sure, but there was only so much it could take before it broke. I prepared to pull on out from the inside, but
今から一晩ここに入って鍵をかけて絶対に物音一つ立てないで。
what would happen if I did? Whatever was outside would instantly know I was in here, and it would redouble its efforts. Even if I had protected the door, that thing had lots of other ways of hurting me. But what if it didn't know about me and was just weirded out by this randomly locked toilet? What if I didn't show a hint of fear to what it was doing? Would it just leave? I chose to just wait and see. Once again, someone pulled the door, shaking the structure as a whole. I gulped down a scream and focused on the lock. If it broke, it'd be over for me. Over as in, I'd be dead. That was what that memory told me. I was powerless back then, and even more so now. Assuming I tried to fight back, what would work? I'd hear that teeth were the hardest part of the human body. So maybe I could bite? Yeah, I'd tear whatever it was apart with my teeth. I'd bite it to death. I gathered my wits in killing intent. Grinding my teeth, I glared at the door. How long had it been? The sound suddenly stopped. For all I knew, it might have been a ploy to make me drop my guard. I'd slowly count to 500. If nothing happened in that time, I'd assume it went away. There were no screams or attacks after that. But the silence around me improved my perception, and I heard strange noises every now and then. Breathing, growling, claws on the ground. Basically, I felt a beastly presence. So that thing actually existed here. Was it what the mists brought? Here? From Saranaga? The wolf is coming. Did they all know about this? Shit. I couldn't learn anything in a place like this, and not knowing things scared me. Trusting my prescience or deja vu or whatever it was, I chose to just stay quiet and wait. I'd find out everything tomorrow. I just had to make it through the night, and then talk to Chiemi. And if it was something I couldn't solve, I'd just run away. Thankfully, my bike repairs were going well, but I'd be leaving even if it didn't work. I'd walk to Kami Fujiyoshi if I had to. Unlike Yasumizu, they might have had reliable means of transport. For now, I just had to stay awake and make it through the night. Yeah. Otherwise, snow everywhere. I never liked seeing night gradually turn brighter as the morning arrives. It always made me feel like shit, like I'd just done something harmful, both for my body and as a human being in general. I like seeing the night turn into day. I found it natural to spend the night asleep and welcome the morning well-rested and with a smile. I'd never expected to feel so much gratitude for the morning light leaking through the door of an outhouse. It felt like the beasts had been out and about the whole night. Naturally, the high humidity here had made my clothes all wet and sticky. It was unpleasant, but even trying to move them and make it more comfortable for myself felt like a matter of life and death. Maybe it was a good thing I couldn't relax, but hell, it was exhausting in more ways than one. When I heard Chiemi shout, "Haruaki-san!" in the distance, I was so overcome with relief I almost fell to my knees. If this turned out to be a trick, and I opened the door to see some wolf with a chewed collar in its mouth lunging for my throat. I'd just give up and let it have me at this point. With that in mind, I opened the door. I expected to see the same picturesque village I'd seen yesterday, so what I actually saw shocked me pretty hard. What the hell was up with this thick mist? I couldn't see shit. It was like the entire area was consumed by it. Did someone line every inch of this place with dry ice or something?
Haruaki-san!
I could hear Chiemi, but I can't see her.
ちえみちゃんこっちだ
Haruaki-san! よかった
I heard a wet sound and finally saw a silhouette within the mist.
大丈夫
手にはまった
I walked up and saw exactly what I expected. A girl struggling to free one of her legs stuck deep in the paddy field.
そうか頑張れ
助けてって
抜けないのねじゃあ手をよっと
He's so based. That's exactly what I would do.
わ
I tugged her hand and braced my legs. That was enough to help her, but she lost her balance and...
おっと
ヘッドロックこれ技決まってる決まってる
Despite how close we were now, this wasn't the least bit romantic.
とにかくよかった無事だったんだ
I definitely remembered a time where I was far from all right, though.
ああなんとかね
I had been turned into kibble. I had no idea what that was about, so I didn't see any reason to mention it.
ただ夜中獣みたいな気配がした
Chiemi's expression immediately darkened. She clearly knew what I was referring
聞
to.
きたいことはたくさんあるけどまず昨晩聞いた悲鳴のことが気になる
それは
知ってるの
She fell silent, clearly uncomfortable. Ominous.
来てどうせいつか嫌でも見る
Chiemi gave me her hand. I took it, but I didn't feel the least bit excited about this. Normally, all it takes is to hear the words childhood friend. She led me down the path to the school dorm.
あ夫妻さん無事だったんですね
生還おめでとうベンジョマン
ありがとう温かい布団マン君たちも無事いやはるちゃんは
Did she?
いえ大丈夫ですまだ部屋なんですがちょっとショックが強かったみたいで身支度に時間が
そうか皆さん僕より先に動いてたみたいだな
逆によく耐えれたな寝てたの
寝られるかいつ出ていいかわからないから
God, I wish
ず
I
っと
could
起きて
sleep.
待ってたよちえみちゃんに呼ばれてようやく
Haruaki.
起きてたんですか
If I were Haruaki, I would simply sleep standing up, but that's because I can. Not many people can do that. Yasunaga-kun made it sound like that was weird.
いやあのトイレで寝てごらん横になるどころか座れもしないぜ
いやそうじゃなくそうか
I really hate it when people just trail off like that. It makes me way too curious. Yeah, I really do hate that.
ちなみに君たちはなぜここに
はるちゃん待ちと見張りだよ
A lookout?
状況がはっきりするまで現場に誰も近づかないようにね
Scene? So, someone actually...
見るベンジョマンの胃袋の強度試し
もっちあんまふざけるなよ
ああ見るよ
The invisible and unknown were way scarier than anything else. Not to mention, I could already smell something foul. No matter how well they tease a monster in a horror movie, it's always scarier when it doesn't get shown. I lightly moved them outside and walked up to the so-called scene. There was a corpse. It was in such a horrible state it was hard to recognize it as human. I imagine this is what you would have gotten if you overturned a butcher's cart. That was how thoroughly the victim was disassembled. I have a personal history with that word. Also, the butcher would have had to deal in entrails. Enough of that comparison. Straining my eyes to look through the thick mist, I could actually make out some human parts within the vast sea of blood, or mountain of death. Hands, torn clothing, hair, and a shoulder bag. How professional. She kept hold of her interviewing tools even when running for her life. Didn't do her odds of survival any favors, though. Despite the body's state, it wasn't hard to tell that the victim was Hisako Mamiya, the small-time food journalist. Unlike Higurashi, but also like Higurashi, the reporter is the first one to die. However, here, it's a woman. That thing, did it come to me once it was done murdering her?
これはひどい。
大丈夫？吐き気とか。
Chiemi was standing a short distance away, looking at nothing in particular. How peculiar is it that the woman that went out making food articles got turned into a food article herself?
吐くものもないし、まあ慣れてるんで。
春明さん、そっち系の学部だっけ？
まあ一応医学系。
I'm more intrigued by Haruaki's backstory than the shit going on in the village, I ain't gonna lie.
すごい。検視とかできる？
医学系ってのは医学部以外の類似学部生が見え張って使う表現さ。まあ病理解剖なら何度か見たけど。
I studied medicine for a bit. It was interesting. The math was stupid. The math was just there to weed out the dumb ones. I crouched down and put my hands together. Then, grimacing at the harrowing reek of blood, innards, and especially digested food, I brought my face closer. Perhaps I could learn something from this. I could, even if it wasn't much. This corpse wasn't split into pieces. The limbs were still connected, but they were folded in an unnatural way and looked really flattened, trampled into the dirt. They were either crushed or bent with no regard to muscles or bone position. Then, her whole body had been torn apart. The innards were particularly badly damaged. The words, "wolfed down," felt like the best way to just put it. I found it hard to describe. This wasn't my job, so there wasn't much I could tell about it without touching it.
何がどうなってるのかわからない程度には常軌を逸した傷だよね。
I had an urge to add that this seemed inhuman, but I kept myself from saying that.
とにかくとっとと警察を呼んでプロに任せよう。
I said something any good citizen would, but for some reason, they didn't seem to agree.
春明さん、警察は来ないんだ。
そんなことはないでしょう。人が死んでるんだし。
来ないんだ。
じゃあ避難しよ
う。それも無理なんだ。
どうして？バイクもあるし、この人たちが乗ってきた車だって。
とにかく不採師さんで生存者は全員見つかったはずだから、一度食堂に移動し。
はるちゃんは僕らが連れてくぞ。
そっちはお願い。春明さん、行こ
う。なあ、ちゃんと説明してくれないか？
悪いけど精神的に無理。自分で見て勝手に理解して。
You literally said you'd explain to me. It was the first time Chiemi had acted so harsh with me. I was pretty irritated myself, but it must have been worse for them. They actually had info on what was happening here.
無神経だったよ。
Chiemi said nothing more and just silently walked off. I followed after her. When we reached the plaza, I instantly understood what she'd said about evacuating. The bike and the van were both completely destroyed. The latter was in a particularly bad state. The front window was broken. All 4 tires were flat, etc. My bike was on its side. Its front fork was broken. Well, it's basically scrap metal now. Fuck. There was a rock right next to it. I guess we had our weapon. And there were more remains inside the van. It looked like an enormous mountain of flesh and bone. If I didn't know about Yudai Hashimoroshi, I'd have assumed there were 2 or 3 corpses here.
Hashimoto-san?
Chiemi slowly nodded. I now knew we'd lost not only 2 lives, but any means of transportation as well.
あれ見て。
She pointed at a wooden electrical pole. The line was dangling, torn apart with no hope of repair.
よその電線は生きてるけど、食堂のは電話線ごとやられた。外には連絡できないよ。
I took out my own phone. It worked, but the battery was almost dead. Like before, it was out of range. The situation had become even harsher than before. Well, worst comes to worst, you can start cutting up the bodies and eating them.
これも見て。
Chiemi walked a few steps away. I followed after. There was a large boulder. It was tall enough to reach an average roof, and there were drawings on it. A crimson symbol of some sort. What did it represent? At first, it looked like an incoherent mess of lines. However, I soon realized there was a pattern. It felt like the calling card of some street gang. From what I could tell, the basis was a warped diamond shape with a spiral inside. There were 2 of them. They seemed to be drawn in blood, but that wasn't nearly as disturbing as the bizarre shape.
狼が2匹、村に紛れ込んだ。
Spiral in Japanese is uzumaki.
戦わなきゃいけない。
Chiemi made a quiet declaration. Apparently, this settlement had been invaded by something malicious. It was intelligent enough to rid it of all means of escape or contacting help. I could understand that much, but it didn't make sense to me. This wasn't some isolated island. There was the cliff, sure, but you could still go down to Saranaga or go to Kami Fujiyoshi. I'd ask about that the next time I had the chance.
ごめん。
ん？
気が立っちゃってごめん。春明さんだってきついでしょうに。
まあ気にしないでいいよ。所詮僕はよそ者だ。
そんなの言わないで。
ああ、言い方が悪かった。よそ者ゆえにルールがまだわからないから疲れちゃいるけど、多分普通の人よりは動揺はしてないと思うからおとなしくしとこうってね。きっと他のご年配方はもっと殺気立ってるだろうし。
The hook for this game is particularly excellent.
春明さん、本当にただの大学院生？
What do you mean? Ah, alright. The hook for this game is you die. And honestly, that's fantastic. That's way better than some other VN hooks, I can tell you that much.
そうでなきゃなんだと？
なんか異様に落ち着いてない？まるでこういう
Utawadaramono's hooks are all just... I love Utawadaramono. Having an entirely new, fresh setting and world with races that look human but aren't necessarily human, that is a huge hook in and of itself. And a mask that you can't take off? Jim Carrey's The Mask was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. Oh no. Instead of the soul of Loki, it's the soul of Utsunomiya. The small dining hall was jam-packed with people. Oh, they're not happy to see me.
おはようございます。大変なことになったみたいですね。
ごめんなさいね。ちょっと湯飲みが足りなくて。
いえ、お構いなく。
てめえがやったのかよ。あ？
The younger Oribe boy menaced me.
いや、やってないよ。どうしてそうなるの？
うるせえ。入ってくるんじゃね
え。よしぼうやめろ。うるせえのはお前だ。
ああ？匠兄だって言ってただろ。こいつが怪しいって。
Man, I hadn't expected to be treated this badly.
ガキが出る幕じゃねえっつってんだ。それにここじゃ迷惑だ。なあ、香織さん。
匠さん。とにかく落ち着いて。穏やかにね。
Well, that is her son.
大丈夫だ。ちゃんと話は聞く。
ナムシ内大権限。ナムシ内大権限。
You can pray all you want, lady, but one of you has pissed off God, and it was probably me.
やめえたえば、縁起でもねえ。それより、集会堂の鍵はどこだ？
上松様に預けたわよ。2、3日前。
Uematsu様。
直すんじゃって。
姉ちゃん、いいか？
取って、参ります。
She's here. That was the woman. So, she wasn't just an illusion. Uematsu-sama was her name, huh? I thought our eyes met for a second, but she just walked by me.
メイコちゃん、ちょっと待っててね。
That girl was here too. Her limbs are a bit too soft. Deeper in, there was Kiyonosuke no Satoshi, clearly irritated by something. And not too far away, there was the old man who cried wolf. Just like yesterday, it was hard to tell what he was looking at, let alone thinking. They were the only ones sitting, by the way. The others were all just idly standing around.
母さん、皆さん、戻りました。
はるちゃん、こっち。
The three students were here. With them, the settlement's entire population had gathered. As for the outsiders, the journalists were dead, while I and the mysterious girl had survived. I didn't know the circumstances, but they probably had their reasons to be suspicious of me. Suddenly, Chiemi did something unexpected.
リカコさん、ちょっと待ってもらえる？
She stopped the girl who was about to go out to get some key. Each villager seemed to call her differently, so I didn't know what to call her myself.
この人、久石春明さん。皿長でバイク事故に遭った人。
あ、どうも。
An introduction? Now? Why?
こちら、植松里香子さん。回るに末で植松。珍しいでしょ？上藤吉の長者、植松家の現当主様。
植松里香子と申します。
Yeah.
お見知りおきください。
Spin Drifter is probably the closest we have to that. Oh. So she was like a local celebrity, huh? Like Yonosuke Shi's Nosato family?
あと、そっちのがメイコちゃん。名前がわかんないからそう呼ん。
She's a Pokemon.
こんにちは。よろしくね。
The girl they called Meiko trembled a bit and
あら。
おっと。
sprinted through the crowd to hide behind Rikako Uematsu.
で、なんだっつうんだ、ちえみ。
私は、久石春明さんを宴に呼ばないことを提案します。
But I'm hungry. I felt a wave of perplexion go through the room.
買って言ってんじゃねえ。
そいつが怪しいか怪しくねえかを宴で決めるんだろ。
Their expressions were stern and their words harsh.
違います。私は彼がそもそも宴に参加する資格がないと言ってるの、匠。
何言ってんだ、知恵ね。そいつが一番怪しいっつーの。
Well, I know what you're saying, but I did spend the entire night in an outhouse.
はあ？ した
しなかった人いる？
How was I supposed to react? No one else was raising their hands, but I had no idea what they were talking about.
多分はい。何のことかわからないんで。
宴の支度をしなかったからあの二人は汚れを受けた。でも春明さんは受けていない。私は狼様が彼を無視していると思ってる。
Okami-sama? As in Wolf-sama? Why the reverence, and what was she even talking about?
サラナガから来た人ではあるけど、彼は本当にただ通り過ぎただけ。むしろ宴の邪魔になる。いえ、むしろ宴に混ぜれば狼様の怒りを買って何が起きるかわからないとすら思う。
ばあちゃん、どう思う？
あんたほんまに支度をせんと無事だったんかね。
Yeah, I just kind of stayed in a really stinky spot and didn't make any noise, and yeah.
ちなみに支度って？
みそぎ、物意味、夢枕。
Okay, so I had shelter. The other two, no.
体を清める。一つの建物に一人で閉じこもる。眠って夜明けを待つ。この三つ。
Chiemi, you literally made it impossible for me to sleep.
じゃあ守ってないですね。トイレに一人で入りましたけど、風呂も入らず一晩徹夜しましたから。
The place got all noisy. They probably didn't expect that answer.
わからんね。初めてよ。そんなことを聞いたのは。
Tai-san sounded genuinely puzzled.
リカ子さん、どう思われます？
I had no idea what kind of dynamics were at work here, but Chiemi asked for Rikako Uematsu's opinion.
私も神内明神が裁かれないのなら、この方は山の掟の拉致外に。
Her words created even more commotion.
そういうことです。
ちえみ、分かってんのか？そいつを外すってことは。
うん。大切な宴一日分、無駄な人をくくらずに済むね。
おやっさん、どうするんだ？
Oh boy. It was roundabout, but in the end, once again, the one to make the final call was Kanzo Makishimeshi.
こいつは歌でから。
おやっさん。
じゃが。
Glaring directly at me, the old man walked through the gathering and approached me. Seeing him from up close, I realized just how big and burly he was. He was pretty typical of someone living like this, but it felt out of place on someone his age. His expression displayed both an inner strength to match his physique and a profound rage.
山の掟が通じねえなら、わしらの取り決めに従ってもらう。さもなくば、わしがてめえを殺す。
He spoke slowly, yet decisively. Man, this was uncomfortable.
ちょっと待て。彼が外されるというのならば、私やリカ子さんも外していただけんかね。
あ？なんでだよ。
我々は上富士吉の人間だぞ。サラナガの事情に付き合う必要はない。
野里様、そうはいきません。
Huh?
宴の日にいりゃ、野里も上松
Oh,
も
okay.
身車も樋口も関係ありゃせんです。
おっちゃん、その理屈だったら僕もやっすんもサボってよくなる？
拝借されたものは話は別だろう。どうして今現在4家に属している者がこんなバカに付き合わなきゃならない？
あのよ、キヨ。
気安く呼ぶな、ムロ。行きましょう、リカ子さん。こんなもの付き合う義理はない。
いいえ、野里様。富士吉に住む者ならば義理がないとは言えぬでしょう。
Rikako is probably the only voice actor in this that I recognize.
皆等しく神内様の手のひらの上、それが
A lot.
このやす。
しかし
I don't want to Google her name, but she is in a lot of the things that I watch.
汚れで死ぬの
She
が
might even be an
関
Utawaru
の山
Mono.
よ。
Either that, or
てめえは別のとこだ。
there's just a high demand for
はい
her voice type.
どこに行けば。
匠、奥の檻使えるか。
A cage?
そりゃ使えるけど。
Hey, wait a minute.
あ、わかった。あんたこっちだ。
Everyone went to some hall near the village plaza while Takumi led me elsewhere. We made our way through the tall grass between the buildings. At a dead end next to wild trees and a rocky cliff, there was a large cage. It even had a roof and would have passed for a hut with a bit of work.
生け捕りにした獅子を入れとくような檻だ。悪いがここに入っといてもらう。
拒否権はないってわけですか。
悪く思うな。みんなが宴をやってる間だけだ。そう長くはかからねえ。
詳しい話を聞くのも無理と。
ああ、そうだな。悪いとは思うが、宴に出んで済むだけで幸運と思ってくれ。
How was I supposed to feel that way if I didn't even know what the feast was? I'd have asked, but he looked pretty irritated. Probably because he wanted to get it over with, so I kept my mouth shut. The floor of the cage was mostly gravel, with spaces of wheat and other things littered about. There was a vague but very clear scent of beasts.
ここ横になっていいでしょうか。眠れるときに寝といた方が良さそうだ。
ずいぶんずぶといな、あんた。
単に臆病なだけ。死にたくないだけですよ。
That was why I'd abandoned those people. After Takumi-san locked me in and left, I laid down and closed my eyes. The ground was hard and it reeked pretty bad, but it was still an improvement over the outhouse. I should have taken the time to think about what the villagers had said, about my strange memories, and about how I could get the hell out of here. And that was what I wanted to do, but I knew that I'd just be swept away by an unproductive spiral of regret if I went down that rabbit hole. Had I always been this admirable of a person? Another thing. For some reason, I felt like I'd spend the entirety of this time just watching the battle. So I decided that I'd focus on resting, in preparation for what was to come.
みな座りんさった。じゃあ読み意味の宴を始めましょうね。植松様、お願いしますよ。
神内様に献上されたおみきです。年少者から順に。
お酒？
あなたはお口をつけるだけ。
You're really going to give a child alcohol, huh? Alright.
未成年者は飲むなよ。
Oh, never
一
mind.
杯くらいどうってことねえよ。
やめなさい義継。安永も何か言ってやって。
義継、あくまで形だけのものだから。
うるせえな。分かってるよ兄貴。
こんなの飲みたくない。
はるちゃん、チュッてして。はい終了。僕も終了。
Okay.
僕もこれで。知恵ね。
ここから
They put the femboy in a dress with a bow.
私はこのくらいで。
存外にいい酒だな。では、ムロ。
昼間っから酒が飲めるとは宴様々だな。ほらよ、おやっさん。
ああ、耐えばこぼすなよ。
はいはい、いただきます。おじいさん、モテるかいね。
酒か。お、一通り回ったか。耐えば説明せ。
みんなお話は知っておるね。夕霧が立つとき、狼様はよみがえり、人を亡きにせんとされる。よもつ狼のお印が2つ。こたび 狼様がお二人を血戻られた。じゃからあたしらは神内様の言う通り、こうして宴してお守り様の加護のもと狼様を探してくくらねばいかん。従わずば神内様は汚れを下される。それはとても恐ろしい死に目を見るということよ。汚れを受けたくなくば宴に出て狼様を亡きにする。それがわしら安水の者の役目。
お姉ちゃん、亡きにするって何？
殺すという意味よ。
怖い。
大丈夫。私が守ってあげるから。遮って申し訳ありません、山脇さん。
ええのですよ、小さい子のすること。狼様かもしれんのはその。
やれやれ、くだらん話ですな。
おいおっさん、くだらねえならとっとと出ていけや。そんで汚れで死んじまえ。
義継、お前は。
失礼だが織部さん、自分の子にどんな教育をなさっているのかね。
俺は勝手にグレてんだ。ババア巻き込んでんじゃねえよ。
義継、黙れ。ぶん殴るぞ。
ああ、匠にまで何威張ってんだ。
殴るっつったら殴る。よしも清も一緒だ。お前らちょっと黙れ。
I like Takumi.
貴様にそんな根性はなかろう。
I also like Kiyonosuke, but that's because he's a dick.
言われてんぜ。
大人は無駄に根性試しをしねえ。それはともかくタイばあちゃん、俺やっぱり納得できねえよ。その話、俺らはずっと聞かされてきたが、ずっとわからねえことがある。俺らはずっとここで育ってきた。メイコ以外はみんな顔見知りだ。狼様が入れ替わってるって、そんなわけねえよ。みんな普段通りだ。
匠、甘えこと言ってんじゃね
え。なんだよおやっさん、怪しい奴がいるっつうのか。
Don't say it.
どいつも怪しい。
おじいちゃん、
春も気をつけ。けだものでも人を騙す。人ならなおさらよ。こん中にわしらを騙して平然としとるもんはおる。
なんでそう断言できるんです？
昔のもんの言葉には真実がある。
What?
まあいいですけど。
安水のパープーの言ってきたことだろう。
近持ち。
あんたはまたそんな。
モッチ、やめとけって。すみません。それでどうするんですか？
どうって話し合いで決めんだろ。
There's an easy fix for all this, right? Haruaki kicks down the door with an AK.
話し合いで決まるのかな。しかもこの中の誰かを
Kill everyone but Chiemi.
全員が自分の考えを言う。それで納得のいく意見を絞り込む。
チエネ、どう思う？
少なくとも全員怪しくないと思う人と全員怪しいと思う人がいる時点で破綻してると思うけど、決まるはずのない会議を延々やっても苦痛なだけ。それに耐えかねてみんな偉い人の鶴の一声を望み始めるし。
G は何が言いて？
ちえみ、あんま心配すんな。俺らは安水の釜の飯食って暮らしてきたもん同士だぞ。
Also, the fact that Haruaki thought at first that Resident Evil wasn't Japanese implies that his experience with Resident Evil isn't through the games, it's through the really bad movies.
匠兄ちゃんの仲間思いなとこすごく嬉しいけどその仲間から一人選んで殺すんだよ。
The movies are... They have some okay action sequences, I'm not gonna lie, but they shouldn't have action sequences that good as the issue.
自分がそんなに好きじゃない。
Also, the main character is pretty
こ
hot.
こに来て日が浅い人とか、少なくともそういう理由では絶対に選ばないようにしないと大変な間違いをしちゃうんじゃないかな。
だから俺はそもそも殺すとか頭おかしいからやめようぜって方向にまとめてんだよ。
匠、それはいかん。
ばあちゃんだってこう言い出す。だからじっくり話してだろ。
わかるけどね。
ちょっと。
はーい、はるちゃんが喋りまーす。
Haru-chan.
知恵姉が連れてきた男が記者の人たち殺したとか、そういうのないのかな。
Doubtful. After all, you should take my word for it.
僕はないと思うよ。勘だけど。みんなどうですか？
匠にあいつが怪しいっつってたろ。
ああ、怪しいと思ったさ。しかし知恵みの言う通り、そんな理由じゃ決めねえ方がいいだろう。それにあいつは変なやつだが、ああいうことをやりそうなやつじゃないような気がする。
それは私も賛成だけどね。とにかく私たちの問題なんだから、私たちで解決するべきだと思う。
I just saw a pretty shit-ass take. Someone's like, are the Fire Emblem games worth playing? And someone responded with, only the newer ones. Games before 2012 are hard just for the sake of being hard. Three Houses is my favorite game ever. I am filled with a profound rage. God, that's, yeah, that's, ooh. As if I need, yo, Utawara Ramona would be considered too hard for them. God. That fucking pisses me off. Holy shit. Oh man. Zoomer ass takes. Boomer takes are bad, Zoomer takes are worse. Fuck's sake.
それだって好みで選んでることに他ならんだろう。
じゃあ清之助さんはどうやって決めるべきだと思います？
Obviously, whoever I like the least.
こういった場で決める手段といえば多数決しかないものだよ。オリベ安永。
Same.
民主主義万歳ってわけです。らしくもないですね。
私はそれ以外にこれだけの人間の意見をまとめる手段など存在しないと言っているのだよ。第一、話し合いで納得というのも結局は大多数が合意する結論を取るということだろう。多数決に他ならん。
Hmm? I don't know about that one. I may not play boomer shooters, but I play some really fucking old things.
そうでなければ、それこそ君の言った鶴の一声。つまり有力者の独断で決まることになるのだろう。
I think the oldest fighting game any of us play here is Heritage.
安水の有力者とはマキシマ肝臓しかね。それとも山脇大佐
Think
しか
so,
ね。
yeah.
そして殺されるのは住人でない私か。
Let me check the date on Heritage real quick. Let's see when Heritage came out. 98.
当のお偉方本人が狼かもしれないという状況でだ。バカらしいと思わないかね。
He has a point.
野里さん。
言っておくが、私は死ぬのはごめんだ。それならば、 せめて無力より一票の力を
He
保
knows
てる
they'd
方
vote
法
him
を
out in a
望みたい
heartbeat.
ね。
Hmm? The first Guilty Gear? The one that none of us play?
俺は反対だ。多数決だ。そりゃ結論は出るだろうよ。ただし俺はやっぱりちゃんと話し合
The
って
missing
決める
link,
しかねえ
right?
と思う。
Oh. I'm glad none of us play that game.
話し合いをするとなると何を話し合うんです？
タイバーちゃん、宴には山のお守り
No
の力を貸すって話だよね。
そうよ。蛇様、猿様、 それに雲様が。
Okay, that was a joke. Alright.
詳しいことわかる？
蛇は
うわじじい知ってんの？
Oh my god, he's saying something.
蛇は狼が誰か山に聞ける。猿だけ2匹おる。お互いが猿じゃとカラスはくくられたもの。
Yeah, that's what I was thinking this whole time.
雲は狼から一晩だけ他人を守ってやれるよ。山に頼める。
その通りじゃと私も聞いておりますよ。おじ
狼来たの。
Let's just call it a tabletop game. That covers both.
のですか。あんたボケとるかと思ったが。
I thought you were just senile, but it looks like you're pious too.
おじいちゃんのことは置いといて。
He's pious and
じゃあ
senile.
この中の誰かがそれぞれの力を受けてるはずだってこと？
それってどういうこと？というか
Oh, I love that meme. I love that fucking meme so much.
ただ昔話になぞらえて誰かが人殺しをしてるだけじゃ。
Yeah, but you see, Esmeralda's too hot to be Romanian.
ちゃんとおる。
そんなの信じてるだけでしょ。
そんなことはない。みんな生まれてからこれまでに神内様のお姿を見とるはずじゃ。
そんなのただの。
はるちゃん、落ち着いて。大丈夫？
うん、ごめん。
真偽はともかく、今は分かってることを
Look, I get that you want to be Oribe, Pit, but it's really not nice to tell him to kill himself.
さっきのお守りのカゴの話、もっと分かりやすくしよう。
若い子はもっとちゃんと昔の話を覚えんといかんね。
蛇は見破る。猿は手を取る。カラスは味を見る。雲は守る。
Spider protects, huh?
蛇は大衆に紛れた狼を発見することができた。ちなみに蛇は身車家の守護獣でもある。猿は守護する者同士が狼でないことを確実に知っている。猿は樋口家の守護獣でもありますな。カラスは死んだ者が狼かどうか知ることができる。我が野里家の守護獣がカラスだ。
貧乏くさいよね。
What? You're playing FF? Fuck. I have to see where you are. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, it's fucking insane. It's happening. Holy shit. I guess I won't feel too bad about missing a roulette since since you're just trying to get your thaumaturge up to snuff. However, that's fair. However, if you do roulettes without me, I will eventually fall behind and I will be very upset. in the future, please invite me along.
黙れ。そして雲は誰かの家に
Oh no, I
大き
understand.
な入ることを防ぐ。
Yeah.
雲は植松家を知る。
Just, like, as long as you're around the same level as me, I'm not gonna be too bothered by it, but if you do start to outstrip me, that's gonna be a little bit of a problem.
そうですね。それぞれの家の門にもそれぞれのお守りがあしらわれています。
でも実際はそれぞれの加護を受けた人はどうやってその力を借りるんだろう。
蛇は夜
So how?
他の生きとるものを
Aha! Interesting.
枕の下に置いて寝る。
So why does it have to be one? Can't you do, like, everybody in one night?
翌朝、それが人か狼様か神内様に教えてもらえるそうよ。猿は2人おって加護を受けた時にもう一人の猿が誰かを神内様に教わるそうじゃ。カラス
Yo, I wanna play this
前の
game.
日にくくられたもんが人かどうか知れるそうだ。
Oh, fuck. Oh, no. Hindsight is 2020.
雲は他の生きとるもんの名前を何かに書いて枕に敷けばそのもんは一晩狼様から守られる。
Only for one night, huh? You can only use your protection on each person one time.
そうしてお守り様方の力を借りてあたしらはくくる一人を選ばね
Fuck,
ば
and
な
they
らん
have
と
to
いう。
hang someone every day, huh?
狼様をみんなくくれば勝ち。おやすくん、わかったかいね。
God, I am just hoping against hope Chiemi is not a wolf, because she's the only person here that I really care about.
そもそもばあちゃん、どっからそんなの聞いたんだ。
あたしはあたしのおばあちゃんに聞いたのよ。
What the fuck?
とにかくそれじゃあ長者それぞれの血筋の人が
Interesting.
それぞれの
それはどうかな。身車家の演者は絶縁者含めてここにはいないし。
Unfortunate.
宴でお守りが誰に力を授けるかは
Based.
気まぐれだと。
じゃあ誰なの？
下手に明かせば狼様に狙われるかもしれない。
んなこと言ってたらそれこそ何も話が進まねえだろ。
そうかしら。例えば
めんどくせえ。ダラダラしてても話が進まねえだけだ。みんな聞いてくれ。蛇の守護を受けたのは俺だ。
This does seem a bit stupid, but also if he's a wolf, then just declaring that makes everyone else think of him as the sniffer, when in reality, he's the slasher.
匠にそれは本当なの？というかどうやってそれが。
言い忘れておったよ。お守りはね、夢枕に立つ。
Interesting.
そして選ばれた者に印を残す。
So no matter what, Haruaki, as of right now, does not have a guardian.
頼りにしたためて枕元に入れればいい。印により答えが示される。
そうだ。俺にも印があった。夢は正直覚えてねえ。
蛇は見破る。じゃあ匠兄ちゃんにはこの場の誰が狼か
Not
もう分かってる
exactly.
ってことなの？
They already explained it. What are you, stupid?
さっき言ったじゃろう。頼りにしたためねばならん。
So stupid she can't even dress herself properly. Look at that. One thigh high is longer than the other.
明日の朝になるまで
I'm
わか
into
ら
it
ない
as
って
well,
こと？
but it's really easy to roast her, so.
そうじゃ。
一つ聞いていいかね、ムロ。
Muda.
だよ。
君はどうしてそんな極めて重大な情報を何のリターンもないこのタイミングで開示したのだ。
どうしてって。他に決める材料がねえから。
聞いた限りだと蛇の能力はとても大事です。 狼にとっては非常に手強い相手だ。
It also means the wolves are going to go for you.
それを簡単に明かしてしまうと、
But that's exactly why he's a wolf.
そんなもん怖くねえよ。
I'm not scared.
Because I'm a wolf, he says.
なぜ怖くないと言えるんだね君は。相手はあんな風に人を殺す化け物だぞ。
なんだ化け物とか信じてるじゃん。
Shut the fuck up.
今のは言葉のあ
You're
や。
first on my shit
と
list.
にかく今我々は一つの武器を失ったということになる。
勝手に決めてんじゃねえ。お前に何がわかるってんだ。おい。
わかるとも。皆様聞いていただきたいのですがね、この場で何か言えばそれは狼に情報提供していることでもあるんだ。明かさなくていいことは明かさずに話を進めるべきだ。そうではないかね。
そうですね。それで一つ思いついたことがあるんですけど。
今私が喋っているんだ。
黙れ兵六。やす、言え。
Damn. He says something relatively intelligent. And the village elder's like, shut up, you fucking idiot. Hey, high schooler, go ahead and speak.
匠兄が正体を明かしたことを極力有効に利用するには、彼を雲に守ってもらうのがいいと思う。
Meanwhile, Takumi
この
ni is
中
a
にいる
fucking
雲は
wolf.
正体を明かさずに夜、頼りをしたためるとかして匠兄を守るのがいい。
God damn it.
これで匠兄は助かる。どうかな。
いいんじゃねえか。
やす、おやっさん。
匠は今日安全になる。蛇にこうて誰かを調べ。
匠姉ちゃんが明日調べた結果は
Whether or
間違いな
not
く正しいってことね。
he is attacked on the second day, we'll prove if he is a wolf or not, if the wolves are capable of sentiently hunting down targets.
そうなるね。
匠兄ちゃん、誰を調べてどんな結果が出ても嘘を言わないって誓える？
そんなもん決まって。
They can only protect once and a single night, they said.
決まってるさ。
じゃあ今日はそれでいいんじゃない？何の証拠もないのに誰かを殺すとかやっぱり無理があると思う。
本当にそれでいいのかよ。
何かまずいと思うのか、義継。
別にただ待つってのが性に合わねえだけだ。
それは
Shut
わ
up,
かるけど。
delinquent.
あ、でも匠兄が誰を調べるかはみんなの前で言っておいた方がいい。
どうして？
匠兄が誰かを調べて、その結果が匠兄に不都合だった時、別の人を占ったって嘘つくのを防げる。
嘘なんてつかねえよ。
合理的だな。安水の者には情の厚い室には必須の条件と言える。
別に匠姉ちゃんに限らないでしょ。身内は誰だってかばいたいもん。
Nosato's like, my family is the snake. Takumi's like, I have the snake. Nosato's like, fuck, I can't lie about people.
あと利点がもう一つ。誰を優先的に調べたらいいかって点は少なくともみんなで話し合えるでしょ。ね。
そうだな。そのくらいの話し合いはしておきてえところだ。ちなみに安永は誰がいいと思う？
僕はちょっとわからないけど、それこそ不当に選ばれそうな人は先に調べておいた方が安心かな。
True.
では私を調べてもらえないか。正直なところを言えばそうでもないと発言権すら得られなさそうなのでね。
なくったって喋るんじゃん。
じゃあキヨを調べる。それでいいか？
異論はねえな。じゃあ今日は誰も吊るさん。
Oh, thank God, they don't have to hang anyone. Okay.
本当にそれでいい
Watch, they're gonna get
のかね
punished for not hanging somebody.
ああ、大丈夫だ。これで解散。
Mental battle.
本当に寝てる。あ、起きた。
今日のは終わったぞ。待たせたな。
それはよかった。いたたたた。
Unfortunately, Waking up proved that this whole mess wasn't just a nightmare.
その宴とかっていうのは単なる儀式なんです。不吉を退けるような類の。
Yeah, you can call it that.
いや、寄り合いみたいなもんだ。
Too honest.
なるほど。犯人探しをする。
He's definitely going to be the fucking wolf.
春明さん、くちばしの突っ込み方がだんだん露骨になってきてる。
うん。どうやら純然たる被害者らしいということに気づいたので、それなら自衛のために知識を仕入れようかと。
はあ、匠兄ちゃん、私の方から説明しといていい？
ああ、そうだな。頼む。俺は片付けやらなんやらしねえと。
Takumi-san walked away.
片付けってもしかして、遺体を片付けるの？
そうだね。タエばあちゃんあたりが読み人は皿長に流せとか言いそう。
You're supposed to preserve the scene of a crime, right? This is doing the exact opposite. Then again, it didn't seem like anyone expected the cops to show up in the first place.
じゃあ早速、聞きたいことがあるけど。
場所を移そうか。邪魔が入らない場所に。
邪魔だ。
ここは。
Chiemi took me to the place where I'd met Rikako Uematsu and Meiku. It was a grass field with stones littered all over. It bordered Saranaga.
私たちの信仰の中心は、ある意味ここ、首吊り松の墓所。
随分と物騒な名前だ。
Are you interested in my religion? Shows picture of thigh gap. The place was filled with dense mist. Hmm? Alright, let me see. That's gonna be really fucking annoying for, you know, doing that swing and then thinking to yourself, oh, right, there's a dead zone above, despite the fact that the yo-yo, yeah. One of my favorite things about True. True. One of my favorite things about Carnage Scissors is that it is technically an overhead swing as he lunges forward, and the hitboxes do reflect that. But with this in particular, I don't like that the hurtbox extends from the hand that's not swinging to the yo-yo. I would have probably done it so that the yo-yo string down to where the yo-yo is the hitbox. And yes, there is a dead zone between Bridget and the yo-yo in that case, but then it functions the way it should, in my opinion, because it hits like above you where the yo-yo is originating from, and then it hits at the yo-yo point as well. One problem is I think this might not hit fucking the infamous guy with his hitboxes that are too low to the ground. Does this hit Orcane? Okay, then I guess at least it doesn't have that problem. It's a jumping move or just a weird ground move? Okay. Because Bridget's legs make me think it's a jumping move. Welcome back. Didn't even know you were gone, honestly. No, I mean, like, you didn't say anything. This wasn't... When? Did you? Are you sure? True, like this VN I'm playing that I should go back to. However, I have to use the bathroom again. Unfortunate. Look in VC text and tell Chubbs what you think of that. I'll be back. Chubbs was asking about the an opinion on that hitbox, so Alright, I have returned. Ayo. You should do your My Little Chocobo quest. That one gets you a mount, so you can run around easier. Oops. Unironically, though, yeah, I don't feel accomplishment. I just feel relief. I relate to that shit. Alright. The place was filled with dense mist, but it was probably thinner than that in the rest of the settlement. The sunlight seemed brighter here. I could even see a bit farther. The hanging pine had to be the old-looking tree at the ledge.
ここは墓地なの？
そう、集落の方の岩はなんだかわからないけど、ここのやつは明確にお墓。春明さん、最初にここ通った時に墓石にけつまずいてたでしょ。
は、そうだったのか。
ごめん、怖がっちゃうと思ってさ。緊急避難とはいえ、こんな半分廃墟みたいで化け物もいる村に来てもらうんだから。
君は化け物を信じているのか？
I asked, ignoring what I'd seen for myself.
うん、信じてる。
Chiemi's voice resounded through the impossibly thick, cloudy air.
君は信じないタイプだと思ってた。
春明さんは信じる人を気持ち悪いって思っちゃうタイプかな？
それは言い過ぎかも。
嘘だ。顔に書いてある。
Was it that obvious? It wasn't like I found it disgusting or anything. I just didn't think I could get along with people who believe stuff like that, despite a lack of actual proof. That was probably how it was.
じゃあ理由を聞きたいな。
理由？そんなのないよ。
そうは思えないんだが。
言ったら、そうだな。神様を見たことがあるから、かな。
Damn. She got hit with the most powerful spell of all. Are you ready to meet God? That was,
ほら、気持ち悪い。
詳しく聞かせてほしい。
おっと、引かないね。でもそれはともかく、もっと直近の危機について話そうよ。
She was hiding something. It was either that hard to explain, or a lot more important than she was acting.
宴とやらについてか。まあ今はそれでいいや。
チエミエクスプレイン！
イエーイ！説明って意味ね。
Yay! A graveyard probably wasn't the place to joke around like this, but at least you could see past your nose, and it didn't seem like we had to worry about anyone eavesdropping. I tried putting together everything Chiemi had told me. First, Fujiyoshi Village had a unique legend. There might have been similar ones somewhere outside, but I'd just treat it as a Fujiyoshi exclusive for the time being. The people here worshipped a god called Great Lord Shinai, the avatar of Shinai, or just Shinai-san. Also, the mountain this village was on was called Mount Shinai, meaning this religion deified a mountain. Anyway, sometime in the past, not known when, Shinai-san had helped the people here by sending 5 beasts called guardians. However, just like nature could be really harsh, he had a scary side too, and if you didn't follow his laws of the mountain, he'd curse you without mercy. The Okami-sama was the ultimate form of his cruelty. Though the Okami-sama watched over the hunt, the Okami-sama also oppressed, tortured, and punished humans. The other guardians, though, were largely benevolent ones. The snake predicted the weather and harvest yields, bolstering the humans' prosperity. The monkeys defied the wolves, secretly teaching the people of fire, along with other important bits of knowledge. The crow pecked at and ate the flesh of the Yomiboto, the enemies of Shinai-san. The spider warded off the Yomiboto and ensured that the humans slept and dreamt soundly. Yomiboto did indeed mean people from Yomi, as in the land of the dead, but apparently it wasn't very clear what they actually were. But just as I had suspected before, it was thought that they had something to do with the corruption, death, and the land of Yomi. The most likely idea was that they were the dead that had returned from Yomi to bring harm to the people still alive. At the start of the legend, Shinai-san, the animals, and humans were facing the Yomiboto. Apparently, that was how it... No. That was still how it was in Kami Fujiyoshi, the leading part of Fujiyoshi. It was the basis of the teachings of the great Lord Shinai's religion. Thanks to that, the 5 beasts, including the Ookami-sama and Shinai-san, were still worshipped there. In Yasumizu, however, things were a bit different. The legend here had a turning point when the humans, snake, monkeys, crow, and spider cooperated to kill the Ookami-sama. With the destruction of their cruel rule, the human village experienced great growth. That had been when the 4 head families, who were said to have the blood of the 4 guardians in their veins, were formed. The snake was Miguruma, the monkeys were Higuchi, the crow was Nosato, and the spider was Uematsu. However, it didn't end there. The Ookami-sama joined the Yomi... The Okami-sama joined the Yomibito side and became a sinister creature that wanted to bring harm to humans. The Saranaga Rapids were Yomiboto territory. You knew... You were ready. You were ready. The Saranaga Rapids were Yomibito territory, and the Ookami-sama appeared from there whenever the evening mists came. The Ookami-sama would then kill an inhabitant, take on their form, and act like them. But at night, they would show their true self and brutalize the real inhabitants. That was why the people of Yasumizu, who lived near the Saranaga Rapids, had to stop them. For that, Great Lord Shinai created an event called the Feast of the Yomi Purge. Despite the name, it was no banquet, but a ritual to kill the wolf. In the feast, the villagers were allowed to kill 1 person a day. You had to basically kill your own people, something that was taboo for ages. But it was permitted here in order to rid the group of the wolf. Some humans were also given the power of the guardians: snake, monkeys, crow, and spider. It was like a banquet of betrayal. They all drank some sake and chose someone to kill.
それが今ここで起きてることの大体の説明かな。
なるほど。
It was a lot to unpack, but I got the gist of it. Basically, the humans betrayed the Okami-sama, one of their guardian divinities, and were still paying the price. But there were some points I didn't really get.
ちえみちゃんにだけ言うけど、僕はどうもその狼様ってのを見たかもしれない。
嘘、どこで？
トイレのドアの隙間から見えたようなって感じなんだけど。
I couldn't tell her that I'd had a realistic dream where I was killed.
人間の体に狼の頭だったような気がする。
嘘。
ああ、それは こいつマジで目撃してるって意味でいいのかな。
Ah.
新内さんのお祭りでも狼様は人身露面
What'd
で
you say?
描かれるし、上藤吉に祀られてる像もそうだし。
You fucking... What did you eat? How much? So is that like 2 bowls after not eating the whole day? How big are the bowls? Yeah, you are an idiot. It should stop you from doing it again. Oh my god. No, 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 no. Pit, please be healthy. This is why you are underweight and single. If you're gone, who will I have to play all these shitty fighting games with? If you're gone, who will I have ice cream with? Why not? I am. Birth by Sleep is my favorite game. That's out of the handhelds. 2 is my favorite game in terms of gameplay and story. I really like the 3 protagonists of Birth by Sleep, so I very much enjoy the story. The gameplay isn't too great, but I really like Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. Before I saw it, though. Okay, so this is the women's screen. Alright.
殺して入れ替わるの話だったら彼女の死体が出るわけはないし。
ごめん、説明し忘れた。新内さんの掟は厳しいから逆らうと様々な罰が与えられるそうで。
さっき言ってたやつのことかな。
つまりその宴の支度としてお風呂に入って一人で鍵かけて閉じこもって寝るというのに触れちゃったから、だから汚れで死んじゃったということだと思うわけ。
I couldn't see how you could get such mutilated corpses from something called the corruption, but there was something more important.
ということはあの夜、君はその掟の存在も知らせずに僕を便所マン化し、挙句に死なせる気満々だったんだな。
違うよ。あのね、正直よそ者はどうやっても助からないって思ったんだ。
What the fuck? Chiemi!
だけどせめてもしかしたら生き残れるかもしれない方法を伝えたくて、見殺しは嫌だったから。
そしてなんと本当に生き残ったと。
春明さんには悪いけど相当意外だった。
残念だったね。ブッシュ殺されなくて。
ふざけないで。私は春明さんが死ななくて本当に良かったと思ってる。
I wasn't sure how to feel about this, but hey, at least she tried, right? She wants the Haruaki splishy splashy.
ふむ。じゃああの悲鳴は結局間宮さんの断末魔。
Every time she talks about people getting killed, she goes splishy splashy. Which sounds like something making wet noises. So the Haruaki splishy splashy is him thrusting his rock hard.
それはちょっと。
例えばぶっちゃけて、あの時の悲鳴が君のもので、君はすでに狼だって話も。
Alright, I'm looking in VC text. Fuck. Hey, she's drunken. The drinking. Yeah. Little alcoholic yokai. So wait, she is an Oni. She drinks a shit ton. Is she just based on Shuten Doji? Okay. I fucking hate wave dashes. God, I hope Okami-sama did not already replace her, because I love Chiemi and I really don't want her to die. I also don't want her to kill me. Which, I know, rare case of Lin not wanting to get killed by a woman he loves. I know. I know. It's... That's probably why I don't want her to kill me. Her chest isn't big enough. Yes. God, I hope they bash my head in with those. Oh. Funky. Funky. I'm gonna do one more hour of Raging Loop because my voice is that, and I'm unironically getting really fucking hungry, which is why I came back with pickles, but that's not nutrition. Oh shit. I have been streaming for a while. Yeah, I'll do like another hour of Raging Loop, and then I unironically really need to get something to eat. Pickles do not satisfy me, especially considering they're like 3 fucking calories, and empty calories at that. No, this was a predicament. I need protein. Also, playing this VN unironically makes me hungry. Listen, watching the Dahmer show made me hungry, okay? Murder does make me hungry, yeah. Huh? Well, yeah, I mean, at least murder doesn't make me no, wait, no, that's not true either. I recalled the strange symbols on the large rock, the warped diamonds with spirals inside. Listen, when people are getting murdered around you, you realize just how fleeting life is, and the 2 things that you want to do most is eat and fuck.
でも多分そうだよ。山祭りっていうのがあって、毎年お守りの仮装行列みたいなのが出るんだけど、狼様の役が何人出るか似たような方法で発表されるから。
そもそも狼様は複数人いるのが普通なのか？
うん。一応神内様の社には3人の狼
Break all the
様の
wolf
像が飾
statues.
ってある。
Problem solved.
お祭りに何人の狼様が出るかは占いか何かで身車が決めてるみたいだけど、決まったら夜の間にサインを出すんだ。
ああやって岩に何か書くのか？
うん、置き場、ああいう岩は上富士吉にないから。そうじゃなく、社の境内の地面に描かれるらしいよ。
らしい？
安水のものはお守りのご来訪を安水で待つ習わしだから見たことないんだ。
Honestly, I understand completely why they didn't get like an amazing voice for the main character. It's because they want you to turn his voice off and narrate everything.
とにかくその時にあのマークが1個書かれてたら行列には1人だけ狼様の役がいる。
厳密には違うかな。
I'm not gonna
上
do
藤
that
吉の
though.
狼様のサインはもっとちゃんとした綺麗なひし形だし、
Because he's still a better performance than Robert Pierce.
あのひし形にぐるぐるってなったのは地獄から復活した狼
Or
様の
English
サ
Soul.
インで、その話って休みずにしかないし。
なるほど。
I'm sorry.
でもどっちにしろそこで示された数の分だけ。
そうそう。お祭りだと3人いたらめでたい
A
し。
three-wolf festival is considered good luck. What's considered bad luck? Chiemi herself didn't look the least bit happy to talk about it. Anyway, all I had to take from this was that there were at least... No, at most, okay. At most, 3 Okami-sama wolves. I had to fix my perception of the situation. The wolves were a group of 3 werewolves. I wasn't too well versed in myths and folklore, but I certainly hadn't heard of any Japanese myth about werewolves or wolfmen. I did hear of Jinmenken and of possession by fox spirits, but werewolves did seem a very European thing. On the other hand, the fact that there were 3 of them seemed pretty standard. I guess it had something to do with presentation, trinities, and all that. Though the idea of 3 werewolves did seem a bit excessive in terms of content. Anyway, I now had a better grasp of the situation. That made it easier to understand what was going on here.
じゃあ他の守護獣の加護を受ける人は何人いるの？
猿だけ2人で他は1人だよ。
そうか。じゃあお守りが5人に狼が2人。狼が複数いるのは参ったな。
手強いって意味で？
それもあるけど1日に1人しか殺せないんだろ？複数いればそれだけ全滅までに時間がかかることになる。ああ、そうか。狼が1人しかいなかったらカラスもいるはずないのか。
どうして？
カラスの能力は死体が狼か人間かを判別するってものだよね。つまり狼が死んでも変身が解けて正体を晒したりはしない。多分普通に人間っぽい死体が残るんだ。だからカラスの能力は有用になる。彼がいなければ鑑定はで。
それはそうかも。だけどそれと狼の数の関係は？
もし狼が1人しかいないとします。狼が殺されました。何が起きる？
ちえみさん思考停止中。
Chiemi, you're an adorable little airhead, but fuck you.
答えは何も起きない。正確には狼による殺人が止まる。ゲームクリア。
Game over.
人類の勝利ってわけだ。
あ、そういうことか。つまり狼が一人だけなら殺人の有無イコール狼の生死。カラスの加護がいらないんだ。
ご明察。
春明さん鋭い。
いや、気づいても何にもならないポイントだし。
にしてもこの状況でよく頭が回るよ。やっぱただの学生じゃなくない？
じゃあなんだって言うんだい？
探偵とか。
Yo, Tante? Hidari Shotaro? The detective of iron?
いいね。田舎の難事件を解決しに来た名探偵ってわけだ。横溝正史の世界だね。
普段は浮気調査と債務調査が仕事。
急にリアルになったな。ともかく他にも聞きたいことはある。
What? One of you spoke. So you go talk to your grand company leader, and then you buy the Chocobo Insurance license from them. They give you just enough seals right off the bat that you don't have to turn in anything to get it. One of them sells stuff to you. What did you join? Which ones? Maelstrom? That's Limsa. It'll be on the map. Yeah, it should be south, right? Oh wait, no, you're right there. Talk to one of the people in red. You have to keep going until you get merchant stuff from them. It's not going to be that guy though. Go I think it's the quartermaster or the personnel officer. Probably the quartermaster. Okay, go to material. Storm Chocobo issuance 200. There you go. Yeah. There's a lot of in AR. Oh damn, you started with a lot. What the fuck? 3,133. Oh, that is why. Okay, yeah. Don't get any of this. This is all worthless. Save your seals for glamour prisms and other useful things. But yeah, make sure to get you did make sure to get that chocobo issuance, right? Okay, now go turn in your quest. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's something that you're going to want to do at some point. The quest comes up and you can set your chocobo to tank, heal, or DPS. Usually people want the chocobo to tank for them. Lamau. Caster. Caster that gets interrupted by auto attacks. Hee hee XD. Anyway. I have to return to this. I gotta make that last hour count.
今日の晩には全員皆殺しとかだったら話にならないんだけど。
それもないでしょ。さっきの話だけど。
ヘビ。
ヘビとかは誰を調べるか今夜山に聞くそうだし。
そうだろうね。
クマ。
クモだって一人守って自分含む他が全滅ならばやはり役に立たない。
クマ、bear、クモ、spider。
いや、最初に疑問だったのがね。
は？
間宮さんと橋本さん二人死んでるのは血祭りの結果なのか。
What'd you say, Chumps? Yeah. Like wood and wood. Yeah. Kawaii. Kawaii. Kawaii desu ne. Kawaii desu ne.
二人殺せるのでも相当にヤバい。しかし一日に一人なら、あるいはまあそうなると別の疑問も出るけど、人知を超えた化け物が複数いて、なぜに殺さずについて自重し。
不思議かな。
Scary lady. Fear boner.
だってそうでしょ。3匹とかいたら
I've never actually gotten a fear boner in my life.
お腹すくんじゃない？
That's because I don't get scared by scary ladies. I just get turned on. So it's not really a fear boner. It's just a boner.
単純に復讐で惨殺してるって。
それもよくわからないけど、別に狼はそうしたいからそうしてるんじゃなくて。
Spider Devil and Chainsaw Man. Wood.
狼もまた何かの掟みたいなものに従ってるんじゃないかなって気がする。
That was what bothered me so much. The feast of the Yomi Perch had rules, and breaking them would mean being taken by the corruption, some sort of supernatural punishment from Shinai-san. If this was really just divine retribution, surely he would want the Yomi Bito. Okay, I did say that right. Done away with immediately. However, instead the humans retained the aid of their guardians, and only one kill was permitted each day. Even the wolves couldn't break that rule. Were the laws of the mountain equally binding to both man and wolf? In Christian theology, both humans and Satan were God's creations, equal before him, and all acting based on his master plan. Was the god of the mountains similarly inclined? A legend of slain wolves and their revenge. Was it really that simple? Or was there something else going on? It's scary. And I wanted to know all about it.
少なくとも狼が何人殺すかは年配の方々に確認した方がいいかも。
そうだね。というか本当に今夜また
You can also mount up
誰か
now.
殺されるのかな。
もう2人も死んでるじゃん。実際は顔を盗まれた誰かも死んでるかもしれないけど。
Character at the bottom right. Drag a mount onto your bar.
まずい。死体片付けるならできるだけ調べておかないと。複数人の死体が混じってないかとか。
それ朝一で肝臓じいちゃんが調べた。
Hanzo-ji-chan.
骨も内臓も2人分しかないって。
え、本当？彼はプロなの？
漁師だから。動物ばらすのは得意。
He's a hunter, so he's used to butchering animals. Well, that makes
関
sense.
連して思い出した。ある意味もっと大事なことだ。
Yeah, especially games journalists.
どうしてここを逃げ出して警察を呼ぼうとしない？
Oh yeah, you saw that meme about fucking a shit ton of game journalists getting laid off?
はぐらかさず話してもら
Yes,
う
it
よ。
was.
僕は今自分が取れる最善の手段としてそうすべきだと思っているんだからね。
I only feel bad if they were good at their job. I only feel bad if they were good at their job and they had a genuine passion for it. The people who write Kotaku articles about how, like, a game that's old is problematic for today's youth, those guys deserve to be fired, in my opinion. Okie dokie. I'll wait then. But yeah, fuck those people. Intense dislike. I like how people are... Fucking Fire Emblem. I'm not generally a fan of the Fall Guys thing going on in Versus or Rising or whatever. I think it's cool. It's nice to have. I'm probably not going to partake in it while I wait for matches, though. I'm a simple man. I just want to play fighting game. Yeah. I just want a good story mode. That's all I want. Yeah. それはそれ、これはこれ。これはこれ、それはそれ。God. The fucking hedgehogs. ASMR. Mommy encourages son to let inner demons win. Femdom. Gun worship. For incels. Mommy soft. Oh hey, we were just talking about something like that. Mommy's soft boy commits mass shooting audio roleplay. I never actually saw that before. I'm glad sometimes I scroll back up. True. Although, honestly, I did almost miss Peak. Because, you know, I almost didn't play Utawara Ramono. Peak a gaming experience, for real, for real. Anyway, back to Raging Loop. I was aware the people here were superstitious, but those superstitions are getting people killed. So why was not a single person objecting?
ここからは逃げられない。
どういう意味か。
ちょっと難しい。けど私たちは知ってるんだ。どうやったってここから逃げられない。この霧を抜けることは
OMG, Evil Dead.
絶対にできない。
No way to escape this place. The mist is completely impassable.
知っているから、あえてそれをやりたくない。
それは体験または教育された？
ごめん、はっきりはわからないんだ。
Don't lose your way.
宴が始まれば、誰も休みずからは逃げられない。
No, we share it today. So it wasn't logic. True, I'm the one playing the VN right now. So it wasn't logic, but blind conviction. Or perhaps she'd subconsciously gained that knowledge through some experience. Yeah, as if.
根拠はないが、ここからは出られないと思うわけだ。
そうだね。多分みんなそう言うと思う。
ただの盲信である可能性は否定しない？
否定はできない。
山の神に無視されたらしい僕が一人で
Why not
外に出るよというの。
私は全力で止める。他の人がそれに賛成したとしたら、春秋さんが
That's why
死
you
んでもいい
do
って意味。
what Pitt said after. That
心
was
配して
pretty
もらえて
scary.
るって。
休みずで一番心配してますよ。
Jesus.
ありがとう。愛を感じるよ。
愛？
She was going all red on me now. This seems to be taking it pretty far for an act.
違います。良識ゆえです。
他の人が良識がないかのような。
少なくともみんなよそ者に対しては見た目よりずっと冷たいと思った方がいいよ。私は半分よそ者みたいなものだからそれがわかるし、親近感は持ってるかな。
親近感でツーリングにも同意したと？
いや、だってあれが根性の別れになるかもしれなかったし、それならせめて色良い返事をしとこうかなとか。
うわ、道場からの空手型かよ。
Fucked up.
じゃあこれ抜け出したら改めて誘うぞ。
どうしようかな。あ、でもバイク壊れたから無理じゃん。
Damn. She really hit me with the pity phone number. I play VNs to escape reality, you know? I don't like this.
デートのためならローンで買い直すし。
デート？そうか、そうなるか。でも、
Ha! She doesn't know. She doesn't fucking know. Oh, I hate being American sometimes.
あと、どっちにしてもこれで OK したら死ぬ前振りみたいになるから、出られてから考えよう。
Yo, she waved off the death flag. Shit. First, she was all over me. And now, she's playing hard to get. In normal circumstances, that could be kind of fun. But right now, she's the only one I can rely on. The emotional support would have been really nice.
話戻るけど、警察については別に今じゃなくても期待できないかな。
超常現象だ。
I know, right?
うん、それもあるけど、上藤吉には駐在さんがいるだけだし、休みずで何が起きたって上藤吉は何もしてくれないからね。
The Japanese racist towards each other?
正解。
I hadn't even said anything yet.
そうです。休みずってのは要するに藤吉村の中の
Yo! Ostracized? Australia? True, true. I mean, they do have, like, snakes, spiders, wolves, all that shit running around, just like Australia. You also can't leave, just like Australia. Yeah, I know. Honestly, the entire world should just start sending their prisoners to Australia and just make it a giant prison continent again. Shoot. Yeah. Just I can't say that actually because that would be a spoiler. Never mind. She really did guess what I was gonna say. Ostracism. In ancient times, villages often punished criminals and the like by Australiaing them. They were ignoring and excluded from all social welfare aid. Basically, people were excluded from the larger group and treated coldly. It was one step away from actual Australia. It wasn't just emotional torment either. Back in those days, not getting the help of other people was a matter of life and death, making this quite a harsh punishment.
何かやった人なのみんな。
Speaking of that, The Witch is a really good movie. Completely unrelated, by the way.
そういうわけじゃない人のが多い。牧島さんちや山脇さんちや室さんちは大昔から安水のものだし、内緒にしてくれる？
もちろん。
織部香織さんはもともと樋口家によそから嫁いできて
Yo, that's why she's hot.
旦那さんがちょっとヘマをして亡くなって。
Oh, yeah, I mean... To be fair, Plus Our Bridget is pretty small in their own game, but this is a bit much. Yeah, that is a bit much. I mean, the height is fine in my opinion, but... Yeah... Standing still it looks fine, but then when it moves around... Yeah, no, he's... Platform fighters, though. Yo! I just saw what you got, too. I want to fuck that. Anyways. Listen, the succubi in Final Fantasy XIV are really fucking hot, okay? Yeah. Alright. Ah, yes, Kaori-san. She was an outsider. And, you know, that makes sense. She was kind of nice to me. Nicer than the rest of the villagers. Aside from Chiami, of course. Chiami. Chiami's still based. Listen. I know that the popular trend these days is MILFs, but... That's just not my thing. I'm sorry.
それでまだ小さかったヤスくん連れてこっちに移り住まされたって聞いてる。
The younger the... That is a joke. That is a joke, Twitch.tv. Well, that wasn't a pleasant story. I heard ostracism still survived, even in this day and age. True. It's called being fucking cancelled. Some rural groups would brazenly cut off your gas or water supplies if you didn't fit in. Yeah, that's also true. I mean, to be fair, they'll do worse than that if you don't fit in. Then again, neighbors in cities had their own communication problems. Basically, humans really hadn't changed much over the years. Yeah, that reminds me, in fucking Trinidad, I heard from my ex who lived there that there was this guy who was a bit darker than the rest of the locale and the rest of the people he worked with and saw regularly. And he'd ride by on his bicycle every single day to go to work. And she noticed for 2 weeks he hadn't been riding by. So she reads in the newspaper that his body had been found chopped up because he had been ambushed by kids and 2 adults with machetes because he was darker than they were. They're all pretty dark down there. Fuck's sake. Oh god. Still, ostracism because of family troubles in this day and age? It seems so weird, ugly, and behind the times.
モッチーなんて野里家の元嫡なんだからね。お坊ちゃまなんだよ、実は。
え、そうなの？
So that's why he's so fucking weird.
清
He's
之助さん
inbred.
とはおじとおいの関係。
They were nothing alike.
ただモッチちょっと変なので養子に出されてそのまま休みず行き。
Oh yeah. Kyunosuke, she had said something like that. Sheesh, what century did they think it was?
君は？
The inbreeding got to his brain.
ちょっと悪さが過ぎまして。
昔は荒れてたとか？
まあそういうのダメ？
Oh no, trust me, I am a big fan of Wild Woman.
むしろタイプ。
Based. He is just like me.
責めるねお兄さん。
Yeah. With her pulling hit and runs, I really had no choice. It's called the Broner. It's when you have an erection in solidarity of another man with the same exact taste as you. Anyway, this place was basically abandoned. Cat, I gave you my blanket and now you want this one too. Damn. Greedy fucking bitch. I couldn't expect any outside help, and everyone here believed they couldn't escape this place due to supernatural reasons. What were my options here? Oh shit. Oh shit! I mean, I can't leave, but I'm gonna try anyway, because it's probably gonna get me something. Living it up at the Hotel California. It was probably best to just leave before I got too deep into this and while it was still bright out. Being left out of the feast hardly guaranteed my safety. I couldn't expect anyone to lead me out, but dropping dead in the middle of nowhere seemed better than getting eaten alive here. After making my decision, I wrapped up my conversation with Chiemi, and we returned to her room. She gave me some cup ramen, and it looked like she wouldn't tell me why she hadn't let me eat the dining hall's food until I asked. I didn't want to go any deeper into this than I already was, so I didn't ask. During lunch, Chiemi went to the bathroom. That was my chance. I took out a notepad, quickly wrote "sorry, I'm leaving" on it, took my stuff, and left the room. I'm not satisfied with this. This isn't exactly what I wanted. Using the mist to my advantage, I passed the inhabitants and headed to the upper parts of the settlement. Alright, I got to the entrance to the mountain path. The road was unpaved and sided by two giant boulders reminiscent of a torii without a top. I could see why everyone was afraid to go beyond this point. The humid mountain forest looked both gloomy and scary. But walking further seemed far less risky than staying in this settlement. I walked ahead, and soon had to stop. The road was ruined. A car would have been useless here. So this was why Mamiya-san and Hashimoto-san couldn't leave yesterday, and had to spend the night in the van. However, I wasn't exactly heavy, so getting past this was easy. I had no idea why obstacles like this were enough to hold back video game characters. You could easily walk around it. Holy shit. Though they could have had it worse. There was that one game where there was both an obstacle and an impassable cliff-like mist. Anyway, I kept on walking. Most of the ground here was covered in dead leaves, ferns, and moss, making it really slippery. I supported myself by holding on to nearby saplings, but I ended up breaking a few branches. This mountain seemed completely untouched. Fujiyoshi's people clearly didn't do any forestry. I came across a very steep slope. Climbing up was impossible. I had come this far avoiding slopes and following the road, but before I knew it, I'd lost sight of the road. It wasn't all that smart, but I decided to keep going up. Logic told me that I'd be closer to Kami Fujiyoshi the higher I got. Seriously, what's up with this mist? I couldn't see anything ahead of or behind me. I felt that I was swimming through rice water. Or perhaps milk jelly. It seemed like it was heavier than air and too dense to breathe in. I felt like it would congeal around me the moment I stopped moving. What was I thinking? This was reality, and this is just a mist. I walked up the desolate slope and kept walking. I had to constantly remind myself that this was just a mist, and this was nothing but reality. I had no idea what happened in the end. Bad ending number 4. Game over. No. At least I got one of the game. At least I got another bad ending. I want to collect all the bad endings. Alright, let's see. No, it's chart. Chart? 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 Okay, there we go. Let's see. Dense Mist. Happy Urepi Urishkane. Ah, yes, here. Okay, cool. Alright, now I have to... Okay, stay. There we go. It's nice that it marks the bad endings. It makes it easier to not click them again. Which is a very frustrating thing that happens every now and then in VNs when you're trying to skip through. You're sitting there for like 10 minutes trying to skip to a particular point, and then by the time you get there, you accidentally click the wrong thing, and then you'd have to do the same thing over. Being left out of the feast hardly guaranteed my safety. Obviously, escape was the ideal choice, but at this point I didn't see anyone guiding me out. All I had to look forward to was either dropping dead somewhere in the mountains, or becoming a snack in this village, and everyone wants a piece of my ass. The first seemed way more attractive, but unfortunately, I'd gotten attached to the people here. Abandoning them would at least make it hard for me to fuck Chiemi. That's why running away wasn't an option for me.
もう聞いちゃうけど、休みずのご飯食べさせてくれないのは何の伏線なの？
気づいた？
うん。もう怪しい伏線はとっとと潰しておこうと思って。怖いから。
怖い怖い。
参ったな、もう。まあ、これはただの保険というか、心の薬というか。
少し詳しく。
なんかあるじゃん。そこのご飯を食べちゃったから豚にされて逃げられないみたいなさ。
ここは地獄か何か？
I'd seen that anime on DVD, by the way. Which way to the bathhouse? Stop. Stop referencing Spirited Away. I'm so fucking tired of that movie. My siblings made me watch it so much, and anytime I talk to somebody and they say they're into anime, I ask them, what have you seen? And they're like, oh, I love Spirited Away, it's my favorite movie of all time. It's not a bad movie, it's just... People won't shut the fuck up about it. It seemed like some serious overthinking to me, if not just serious superstition. My favorite Ghibli movie is probably Kiki. I like Kiki's delivery service a lot.
ちなみにその体制はまだ続くの？
一応食料はそれなりに持ち込んであるからまだ大丈夫。
Mada mada. Cup ramen, huh? I did appreciate it, but I had mixed feelings on living like it was the apocalypse over a local superstition. Anyway, we went to Chiemi's room, and she gave me some cup ramen. We agreed I'd pay for it after all this was over. I actually skipped 2 meals, so I was still hungry, but I was used to skipping meals to cut costs, so that wasn't a problem. Hashtag just college student things. I wanted to relax and think things over, but Chiemi was curious about the others, and I ended up tagging along. it was probably because I wasn't in a position to be by myself.
あら、いらっしゃい。お昼
Remember, if you're ever depressed about being alone and single, just starve for a bit. Instead, you'll start appreciating the food that you have at least.
いいえ、時間を持て余してしまって座ってていいです？
ええ、もちろん。お茶をお出しするわ。
You can't have first world problems if you have third world problems.
すみません、僕はお湯いただけますか？
あら、お茶は体にいいのに。
お茶を飲むと眠れなくなる体質なんですよね。
I'm the type who can't sleep if I drink tea. Weak.
おさゆも
Bad
断っ
excuse.
てほしかったな。
そうは言うけども、カップ麺作るときにここの水は使ってるわけじゃん。
あ、
気づいてなかったのか。
沸かしたから
Wait, really?
セーフかな。
Interesting. What the fuck? Okay. Could hell's water really be purified by boiling?
はい、どうぞ。でも本当に災難だったわね。バイクもあんな
Could
に
hell's
壊さ
water
れて
really be purified by
しかもこん
boiling?
な。
いえ、皆さんに比べればそんな。
Boil
ちな
him.
みにこんなこと毎年のようにあるんですか？
He will be boiled, mashallah. I asked something important, like it was no big deal.
そんなにはなかったはずよ。私は少なくとも宴は今回が初めて。昔霧が出た時に亡くなった人がいるっていうのは聞いてるけど、多くの人が休みずにいなかったから。
As in, they hadn't been ostracized back then? I could ask that, but I probably couldn't dig too deep.
じゃあ、多くの人にとってこれが初めてのことってわけですか？
ええ、そうだと思うわ。
そうか。それにしては、随分とやり方が正確に伝わってるんですね。
ルールはルール
ここ
だ。
はこんなところでしょ。娯楽も何もないから、小さい子たちはお年寄りのお話を聞いて育つの。古いお話や古い歌はずっと伝わって残ってるみたいよ。
ずっと。
歌？
ずっとチュッボー。
歌
Ah, shit. It's her. Whoa! Whoa! The mysterious Meiko-chan popped out of nowhere.
歌覚えた。
あら、すごい。歌って歌って。
しんないさんのお守りは赤だし増やして手がらしとくよ。
Blow Rider? Someone's teaching her the wrong song. Cake, Funky, Blow, and Rider. So... was it about a guy who had a funky birthday party with cake and ended the night on a happy note? The melody seemed familiar, though.
ちょっと難しかったかな。
メイコ、ここにいたの？
Her guardian came soon after.
あら、まあ、すみません。お昼の後でいろいろ見苦しいところを。
Kaori Oribe-san humbled herself.
いえ、こちらこそメイコがお邪魔をしまして。
いえいえ、こんな時ですから。
Alright, you know what?
気が楽になるよう
I
に
can't just think it and
好きな
not say
よう
it.
に
I want
くつろ
to
げくだ
throw
さい。
Uematsu down.
では
A silent thud. Perfect. And a loud one. The woman just collapsed.
大丈夫リカ子さん。
あらまあ、怪我はない？
You know, this isn't as satisfying. I wasn't the one to personally lay hands on her and throw her down. She just fell. This is like wanting to kill somebody and then they die and you're like, well, fuck. I wasn't the one who did it. Apparently, she wasn't trying some unique form of relaxation. She just tripped on the rail for the door. Cute. She put her hands on her throbbed nose and became teary-eyed. The lady's mysterious vibe crumbled in an instant. The woman noticed my surprise and pouted. She might have been more expressive than I'd realized. She's so fucking cute.
あまり見ないでください。
あ、すみません。考えてみたら、
Best
ちゃんとお
ending.
話しするの初めてですよ
Haruaki
ね。
fucks Chiemi and Rikako.
そうかもしれません。
True. True.
申し訳ありません。
This ain't no fate stay night. This ain't no Utaware Ramono.
どうして謝りますか？
巻き込んでしまって。逃げて。
Nigete. Nigero.
そういえば、逃げろって言ってくれましたね。
Hey, he said it.
夕霧が上がってくるのが見えていたから。
ああ、そういうことだったんですか。僕はてっきり予言でもされたのかと。
Nagoriyuki, sometimes when he dies, he goes, Nigero!
上松は
This isn't a shitpost. I just think it's funny.
ありませんから。
Now that sounded significant.
見張りの家とは？
あまり外の方には。
Crap. Chiemi's lack of reserve made me forget my boundaries here.
すみません。変わった服を着てらしたので、何か神職の方なのかなと。
それはまあそんなに偉いものではありませんが。
春秋さん、リカ子さんあんまり困らせちゃダメだよ。
ああ、うん。
6 minutes.
その
Okay.
つもりはなかったんだ。申し訳ないです。
Yo, she gets all flushed when I call her by her first name without any honorifics. I'm gonna do this more.
ああ、すみません。
Chiemi called her that way, so I thought it was okay. Man, this was so confusing.
別にいいですけど。
Then I'll do it again.
いやー、すみません。
何？なんかいい雰囲気？
I'd have appreciated it if she didn't put me in a weird situation.
帰ります。メイコは
Rikako's short.
もうちょっと
I know that the girl is closer up to the screen or whatever, but even then, Rikako's pretty short.
夕方前には戻ってね。
ちょっぴり不思議ちゃん入ってるけど、可愛い人だよね。
I agree.
そうだね。
可愛い
Yay.
人だよね。
I agree.
そうかな。
どっち？
こっちのセリフですが。
No, double down.
はあ、美人はいいな。いくつになっても年齢不詳の美人のまま。
Well, that was some bait.
あえて食いつくけど、彼女っていくつなの？
よくわかんない。まあ30過ぎってことはないと思うけど、間違いなく私よりはお姉さんだよ。
Nate.
十分意外なんだけど。
だよね。ちっちゃいし童顔だし。
Yeah.
ちなみに彼女って。
こんにちは。
Oh, it's you. We were now joined by the students.
母さん、今いい？
あら、安永。はるちゃんもいらっしゃい。
ちょっと、あなた。
はい、あなたのあなたです。
You have a
ふざ
girlfriend?
けてるの？
I was, actually.
なんだろう、牧島さん。
今、はるちゃんって呼びそうになったでしょ。ほとんど初対面なのに非常識じゃない？
Well, now I'm gonna do it.
落ち着くんだ。ヒステリー系ヒロインは人気が出
Ho
ない
ho
ぞ。
ho! Based.
つくづくふざけてる。あなたにね、言いたいことがあってきたの。
Her behavior was pretty unreasonable too, to be honest. But instead of pointing it out, I just corrected my posture and waited to hear what she had to say.
あなたね、知恵姉にくっつきすぎ。知恵姉だって忙しいんだから、あなたはあなたで何かしたらどうなの？
Really? Because she told me she was bored and she would rather watch me fix my bike than do anything else for hours.
そうだったのか。
いや別にそうでも。
よしんば知恵姉が暇だったとしても、女性にはいろいろあるんだから、遠慮して適度に距離を取るのが大人でしょ？
Oh, that's the mature thing to do? Good thing I'm immature.
それは確かにそうかもしんない。
認めるんだったら、とっととどっか行きなさいよ。これだから大人って、ずるくて汚くて鬱陶しいんだ。
Adults are unfair, filthy, and annoying? What does that make you?
そうです。私が汚いおじさんです。
Based. I am a
はるちゃん、
filthy old
そんな
man.
こと言うためについてきたの？あ、母さん、匠兄から伝言で。
何かしら？
しばらくは夜早いだろうから、お弁当にした方がいいんじゃないかって。
あら、それはそうだわ。急いでお米炊かなきゃ。
あと、久石さん、あなたにこれを。
ぼんよよよよ。僕？
Okie dokie. I was busy deflecting Haru-chan's attacks with my stupidity barrier, so being dragged into the conversation surprised me a bit. He gave me a rather dirty, rusty, cheap-looking cylindrical key. It wasn't even attached to a keychain.
学生寮の鍵です。匠兄がタイバーに行って出してもらったんだって。
どうしてそんな。
今朝は外に寝させて悪かったって伝えてほしいそうです。
律儀でよく気がつく人だな。
そうでしょ。あの人がいるからこんなところでもなんとかしていけるわ。
母さん、やっぱり。
あ、お米お米。
With an awkward smile on her face, Kaori-san stopped simping for Takumi and went back to the kitchen.
すみません、お恥ずかしいところを。
I'm sorry you had to see my mother simp for another man in front of us.
まあ、よそ者には何が何だかわからないので問題ないよ。
I made a blatant lie. Everyone could tell that Kaori-san and Takumi-san would make a nice couple.
いえ、はるちゃんもです。はるちゃん、よその人には絡んじゃダメだよ。
何よ。
ダメで
兄
す。
ちゃんだって迷惑でしょ？
別に。
とにかくあなた、宴が関係ないなら早く出ていけば？
I would love to. I can't.
はるちゃんやめろって。
なんでよ。
久石さんは被害者なんだ。そんな薄情なことを。
Yeah, don't victim blame. What the fuck?
何よ、兄ちゃんのバカ。
ああ、もう何が何だか。
Shotaro did it better. Every time I hear Amo, my benchmark for that is Shotaro. He says it so angrily in one episode. They had to stop fighting about me. We have an innocent little girl here. Also, Chiemi's info was confirmed to be true. Trying to escape seemed dangerous, and recommending it was heartless. Basically, getting out of here was difficult. That made me all the more grateful for the room. I'd been so busy trying to understand what was going on in this place that I didn't even consider how to deal with myself. I'd have to think Takumi-san.
まあまあ二人とも落ち着いて。はるちゃん、ちえねえと遊ぼうのコーナー。
遊ぶって
Asobo.
信頼モーデ。
That doesn't sound like a game.
今なんでまた
めいこちゃんに正しいやつを見せようかな。
That doesn't sound like a game at all.
ね
いいけど知恵ねってそういうの結構こだわるよね。
まあね。
Something was about to begin. No longer the center of attention, I began drinking the hot water Kaori-san had placed before me. The teacup had a strange symbol enameled at the bottom. It looked like a family crest.
安永君、この文様って何かな？
ああ、上富士吉の長者の家紋ですよ。そんな食器捨ててしまえばいいのに。
His harsh tone made it pretty likely that it was the crest of the Higuchi family, the ones who banished them here. Haru-chan moved the chair and sat down in front of Chiemi.
私が男役でいい？
いいよ。
じゃあ行くよ。1、2、せーの。
Ichi ni se no.
信内さんのお日がちふましらみがらすよぐも
They started playing an action rhyme, much like Ring Around the Rosie or London Bridge is Falling Down. Fully in sync, they slapped, slapped their knees, clapped again, joined hands, etc., all according to the rhythm. And there was no mistaking it. This was actually the song I'd heard yesterday morning.
夕霧立てば宴の支度いついつ無事なもなれもて走る
They were doing it pretty quickly, so I couldn't see everything, but it was definitely complex. They even raised fingers and made fist bumps. Also, I was pretty sure I'd heard that part somewhere.
夕霧立てば宴の支度
Oh.
あやしよみびとけがらえり
Suddenly, the song changed in tone. The movements switched up too. Haru-chan hid her face, while Chiemi stood up a bit and grabbed her